Blog Talk Radio.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Welcome to Superhero Academy. I'm your host, Crossfire the Crusader, and joining me today, I have our visiting professor, the Golden Valkyrie, and Sonic Eagle. Today, we're going to be wishing everybody to start with a happy Valentine's Day. Tomorrow, if you have not lived Valentine's Day out every day of the year, of course, you have to do your makeup day tomorrow. For those of you that want to do it every day, it's just Monday. But the rest of us, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Our loved ones, our special someone, how much we love them. And we're going to dig a little bit into the tradition of the person who the holiday is named from, the real St. Valentine. This is going to be kind of interesting. This is Christmas. We're going to try it again today and just see where it goes. Callers, if you want to call in, the number is area code 917-889-3317. That again is 917-889-3317. And Val, tell everybody hello real quick.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. We've been doing this for several months. I can't believe we haven't had you on before as a co-host.
Well, you had me on to give the Silver Seal, but you haven't had me on as a host yet. So
yes, and it's quite an honor to have you on here. And for such a special day, Valentine's Day, Valkyrie's Day, whatever we want to call it.
Valkyrie's Day?
Valkyrie's Day, the chooser of the slain, I guess.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Whichever we want to call it. And how are you doing, Sonic Eagle?
I'm doing fine.
Doing fine. All right, we got a few guests already in the chat room, too, the Pot of Race and Apu and a guest here. I want to thank you all for being here also. And to all our listeners who aren't in the chat room or whatever, like I said, feel free to call in and be part of the conversation. We're going to talk about an interesting person here now. St. Valentine, in my research, is kind of an enigma. St. Valentine can actually be traced back to at least three.
At the most, least three. The most I was able to track down were 7, and I do have a list of all of them. But it's really hard to track them down because Valentine was a popular name. It actually comes from the Latin word valens, which is strong. So that's
got another
probably
caller.
why there were so many.
404. Here's the 404. Who do I got?
This is Danger Woman.
Oh, my gosh. Hello, Danger Woman.
Hello.
Welcome to Superhero Academy.
This is my first time calling. I know usually you're wondering, what's a cute little songbird doing on a very fine educational show such as this?
Well, we welcome y'all because we have something to learn from everybody. We all have something to learn. We all have something to teach. That's what makes us human, and learning from each other is what makes us superheroes, or just better human beings. So, now you were saying you tracked down 7 of them?
Yeah, I managed to track down 7 people with the name Valentine who were in consideration to be saints. Unfortunately, because there are so many of them, and it was so hard to track down, or it's so hard to figure out which one is which. He really isn't recognized by the Catholic Church as a saint, unfortunately.
The legend, of course, with St. Valentine has to do with Claudius II, the emperor, had forbid the soldiers that served under him to be married because he thought that a single soldier was a better warrior than a married soldier. And St. Valentine basically said, said, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And he married them anyway, had secret weddings and married the soldiers. And when Claudius found out about it, had him thrown in prison. And he actually tried to convert Claudius to Christianity. Pardon?
I actually found a different version of that.
Oh, I found several, but that's the most common traditional version.
Well, the most common one that I kept finding was that he was marrying Christians in secret. And this was at a time when Christianity was, anybody who was a Christian was being persecuted by Claudius II. So eventually he was caught, and he managed to befriend Claudius up until the point where he tried to convert him to Christianity, and then that's where it kind of went south. Went sour.
Went sour real quickly, because from what I read, wasn't he burned at the stake?
There are a lot of different. Honestly, there's a lot of different dates that he was recorded being killed. There's also a lot of different methods. It's a little unclear.
Are we sure he wasn't an X-Man or something? like the original member of the X-Men team, he dies and comes back. And but seriously, the one thing that I see about St. Valentine was when we talked about St. Nick, we talked about the things that he did that we said made him qualified in today's world he'd be a real-life superhero. St. Valentine stood up against the regime. He bucked the law there, but he did so for a greater good. And some of the legends that I've read have him smuggling Christians out of prison. Others have him marrying soldiers that were forbidden to be married. Others have him marrying Christians. But in every case, he's standing against an unjust law. He says he's not going to obey that law, and faced off against the highest official of the country, of the world at that time, the emperor, and just let him know, I'm not going to stand for this injustice that you're making as a law. And he did so even to the point that his life was taken.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a commitment there that is, most of us would have a hard time finding that inside ourselves. I mean, you really have to believe in something to put your foot down to the level that says, I'm willing to die for this. And, we look at St. Valentine today and we see the hallmark tradition of let's send a cheap card with a stupid poem and tell somebody we love them, send them some flowers. There's no action behind it. In St. Valentine, there was action. I mean, if you look at the real word love, one thing I always point out, love is not it's an emotion, yes, but that's love with a small L. Love with the capital L, that is an action word. It is, I'm going to do something because you mean so much to me. I'm going to do something because this person means so much to me. And it's a matter of doing something. And what St. Valentine, in everything I've researched, stood for is, I'm going to take action. I'm going to do what's right. I'm not going to let the law stop me. I'm not going to let the sword stop me. And I'm not going to let death stop me, because this is what the right thing is to do.
Exactly. So he didn't really care if it was illegal or not. It's just, this is the right thing to do, so he did it.
Exactly. Like I said, if you look at the tradition, they bring up, that while he was in prison, the people that he had married, the couples he had married, back and forth, and he would send notes back to them signed for Valentine. That he was their bishop, their saint, whatever you want to call it. He was there for them. He was making this sacrifice of his life was on their behalf. He was their Valentine, and that's where we get the tradition, be my Valentine. I mean, honestly, think about the people in your life. If you were to follow that example, any of us would say, I'm going to be your Valentine. If you follow his example, you're saying that I'm going to do what it takes to make sure that you don't get a raw deal. I'm going to make sure that You are shown love through action, through my life, and I am going to go so far as that I will even lay down my life to make sure that you get what's right for you.
Well, it gives a whole new definition to it.
Oh, yeah, it means a whole lot more than a little cheap card to get out of a box and hand out to friends.
And chocolates, too. Don't forget those.
Look, the chocolates are special.
Yeah,
we're not going to disrespect chocolate. Don't disrespect the chocolates or the coffee, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, so as a part of Race in the Agent Race in the chat room, he said, so Valentine's actually saying, "Be my hero." That's a really good way. St. Valentine, when we say "Be my Valentine," we're saying, "Be my hero." And if they help, they're like, "I want to be your Valentine. I want to be your hero." Pretty big words there, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think about
that?
that?
Meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a whole new meaning.
You look at the traditional wedding, going back to the St. Valentine being the one marrying the Christians. They say for richer, for poorer, in sickness and health, till death do us part. They're talking about a lifelong commitment there of going through the fire for that other person. Forsaking all others is part of the vows. This is the most important person. You're going to be their Valentine. You're going to be their hero. You're going to be the person that's there for them. I look at the real-life superhero community today, and I wonder how many people would be willing, even the committed people that we have, to say, "I'm going to be that person in your life that's that St. Valentine, that hero that's laying down their life for you." And there's quite a few of them that I say would. But, to stop and think about it in that perspective, it's humbling. It really is. This is by all means, we looked at Christmas and we looked at St. Nick, we looked at a man who, was so passionate about his beliefs that he literally jumped up, slapped a man across the face so hard that he broke his neck for teaching something that was unscriptural. But on the other hand, we got St. Valentine, who just very quietly continued doing what was right until the end. And, peaceful, what's it we talked about, peaceful resistance, when we talked about Martin Luther King Jr., peaceful disobedience. And this is what he did, this was centuries before Martin Luther King Jr. He did peaceful disobedience. And you have to say that he made an impact on the world, because tomorrow is the day that every year bears his name.
Valentine's Day, huh?
Exactly.
I know that's a special day for my dog. That was the day in which my dog, a Fabio Swiss Collie, who I am responsible for, he married a beautiful Dalmatian who worked at a fire station in Philadelphia. And then shortly after they got married at Philadelphia City Hall, she gave birth to pups. Just a few minutes after they got married, she gave birth to puppies. A Dalmatian pup and 3 collie pups, to be exact. And just yesterday, I got to celebrate not only my Fabio Swiss Collie's birthday, but I also got to celebrate the pup's birthday, too. And the kittens, too. The kittens were adopted by this Fabio Swiss Collie.
That's awesome.
And every year, I am reminded not only of their birth dates, Crossfire, but I'm also reminded of the love that I provide for my heroic pets.
Definitely. So now you said the 7 different St. Valentines.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know much about all 7. I just have their names and that's it. So it's really, there's not much about them. So I think that's part of why he isn't officially recognized by the Catholic Church, is because there's just no way to tell which one is the real one, or if they're all the same guy, or, yeah. It's, unfortunately, the guy, we just don't know much about him.
A lot of his has been oral tradition that has not been recorded down. I mean, I wasn't even, most of the people in the canon of saints, not all, have recorded miracles attributed to them, and I've not even been able to find a miracle attributed to St. Valentine in my research. Which, you know, as a Christian, that's kind of disappointing to me, because I was, you know, looking forward to seeing, you know, I don't know, maybe summon flowers from the rocks or something. You know.
Actually, I did track one down.
Oh, cool.
So when he was in prison, he befriended the jailer who had a blind daughter, and it is said that he restored sight to her.
Ah, see, I didn't find that. I found that he, the tradition says he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. And then the last thing before he died, he sent a note to her. And finally, of course, your Valentine.
Yeah, there's just no really actual solid fact about him, unfortunately. I mean, there's a lot of different myths and legends about him, but we don't know much about him.
Oh, sorry. I don't watch this.
Huh?
One, saying that correct, said he was talking about a nun had shared a story with him about St. Valentine. He said that no one would listen to him when he preached the word of God, so one time he went to the docks and actually preached to the sea. And it said the fish all stuck their heads into the water and listened to his sermon. I haven't heard that one either.
Sermon.
But definitely, you know, I get the attention of the fishermen anyway. Midnight Detective here has talking about, let me get back on here. He's pointing me towards some books so I can study on this kind of stuff. And it said that Valentine was challenged to deny Christ before the emperor, before his head was cut off, and he refused. Had restored sight and hearing to the daughter of jailer, Jacobus, and now Jacobus makes a play with the etymology of Valentine as something. I don't cut off the chat room here, but interesting stories, you know, you find, and you've got to dig for information on that, because Valentine's has been shrouded in such a hallmark tradition here of cards and chocolates and candies and expensive dates and fancy suits, and you forget that this was set aside to remember a person who accomplished, you know, day for every saint. We have these days set aside for St. Nicholas, for St. Valentine, for St. Patrick's, because they did something that was memorable to the people, something that stuck in the hearts of the people, above and beyond even what the other members of the canon of saints had done. But I look at Valentine's Day today, and it's like, oh, great. And, you know, I just wait for February the 15th.
Wait for it to be all over.
And that's sad because, you know, as I told Silver Sentinel, I said if you do it right the other 364 days a year, it's just another day of the week, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you really shouldn't need a day to, you know, remind you of how much you love someone, to be honest. So, I mean, sure, we want to honor what he did. But I think, unfortunately, Valentine's Day has become a little too commercial.
Yeah, companies just keep trying to take advantage of holidays and all that.
Oh, yeah. As we look at days like today that remind us of people, we looked at the life of Rosa Parks, and a couple weeks back when we looked at Martin Luther King Jr., and and such like that. We look at these figures out of history and out of our modern, we'll say mythology, but our very historical, but inaccurate memories that we have of some of these individuals. What we're remembering a lot of times is people. They had to make a difficult decision and chose to do what was right. I'm the first person that'll say that when somebody says they are a vigilante, they're breaking the law, that they're wrong. But there are occasions when to stand against an unjust law is more important than obeying the written law. As long as you're doing what's right. When you're talking about physical violence against somebody for things like drugs or speeding or jaywalking or whatever, you're wrong. But when you're standing against a law like slavery, when you're standing against laws like the laws during the Civil Rights Movement that had to be done away with, when you're standing against laws like the law that St. Valentine faced there that said he couldn't do weddings for Christians, or that imprisoned people because of their beliefs and he was sneaking them out of the room, whichever the whole truth on it is, you're looking at people
who can make a decision
to do the right thing.
It made me think about my disabled brethren who for many years were never allowed to be part of the community just because their only crime was a crime of genetic innocence, born with a disability. We had to fight for our right to go to school. We had to fight for our right to become working, tax-paying citizens. And we also had to fight for our right to be allowed to live in the community even though the grown-ups were against it. I will tell you that we have been pardoned by not only the United States Supreme Court, but 3 presidents as well. Because people with disabilities, we may be human beings, but we also have feelings. And even though we are differently abled, we are truly disabled but able to rock. That's why I speak for my disabled brethren, because somebody has to be the voice of the disability community, and sometimes I have to stand my ground against any grown-up who might try and deny disabled people their civil rights.
And I applaud you for that. You're doing a good thing. You're definitely taking a stand and setting an example for everybody in the enthusiasm you show for your calling, for your mission, and you're doing a great job there, Danger Woman. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Professor Crossfire.
Don't call me Professor. I had to shave my head for that one.
I'm taught to be very respectful.
Hey, you run the show. You need to be called Professor.
Oh, goodness. We got about 7 minutes left. Anybody else that wants to call in and add to the conversation, it's area code 917-889-3317. I've got several people in the chat room that are just throwing so much out so fast I can't read it. They're laughing about the beekeepers thing,
Yeah, it's a little odd that, yeah.
As someone that's been married for almost 21 years, I can tell you that balancing a marriage is very similar to beekeeping. You've got to be careful what you say.
Here we go.
You've got to be very cautious, very careful. But the reward is great. It's just like when you fight, when you manage the bees, you suit up, you go out there, you get to the middle, and at the very end, you get that honey. Well, when you do the wedding right, like Sinapu says the same thing, when you get past all the bees and all the traps and all the dangers and work through everything, you get the honey.
Speaking
maybe that's why
romance and current events, folks, I don't know if you've heard the latest news on the superhero gossip lately.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, in case you've been hiding under your desk like Marmaduke hiding from the vet, one of America's greatest superheroes is about to be facing a serious reality.
Okay.
In case you haven't been keeping up like I do, my friend Feedback from Who Wants to Be a Superhero and that cool audio show that I'm proud to be a part of, Feedback, A Hero's Calling, he's about to be facing a very serious reality. He's facing fatherhood.
Oh, my goodness. I had not heard that.
I think I better explain the story behind it. In case you haven't been keeping up like I do. Sarah, his wife, she's expected their first child.
Goodness, I will have to send him a congratulatory note. That's some good information there. Congratulations, feedback, and you and your lovely wife have a very happy Valentine's Day as you celebrate this upcoming.
At least I know I'm also writing a story about it. It's called What Else? Facing Fatherhood, a feedback a hero's calling fan fiction. And I've been working diligently on that story for over a month, and it's been a labor of love. So far, I had to deal with the news of finding out about it. Then I had to go do a rescue, only to had to donate blood. And then I had to deal with an upcoming appearance at Dragon Con. You know, Dragon Con, in case you haven't heard, it's showing its Silver and Shine this year. They're selling the big 2.5, Silver and Shine.
Wow.
And I know that if there's a way, I hope people will come to Atlanta, GA to look for me at Dragon Con 2011, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary, September 2nd through the 5th, at the Hyatt Regency, Marriott Marquis, Atlanta Hilton and Towers, the Sheraton, and the Westin Peachtree Plaza, all in beautiful downtown Atlanta, Georgia. And if any of you loyal listeners out there want to meet the famous Danger Woman and see her sing her heart out, then RSVP to www.dragoncon.org and RSVP, because if there's one place you go this year, one convention you go this year, seeing me perform, it will be the best thing you'll do all year.
Danger Woman. Val, do you have anything else to say? We've got about 2 minutes left. I'm going to take a quick moment to remind everybody.
Look at the time. I'm supposed to get back to work on my status report to feedback, and I'm supposed to work on Facing Fatherhood. But you reminded me I have to get back to work. Sarah's going to kill me and lecture the pets if anything happens to feedback in my stories. But I know it's time to say goodbye. But do not be sad. You'll hear from me again soon. I'm hoping that the next time I'm in the neighborhood, I get to be your visiting professor and educate your students on the history of disability rights.
Okie doke. Again, we have our cape drive going on for Power Capes and Heart Heroes. Those of you that are listeners here, please do follow the link on the website. And if you can donate to the cause, $25 will give a cape to a child who has a chronic disease of the heart.
I love Power Capes to pieces.
We're trying to raise the those of you that can donate, please do. We're going to be going into our closing theme here for a minute, and just stay afterwards for a teaser for next week. Thank you, Golden Valkyrie. If you want to stay around for a minute and add to what you presented, just to kind of close this out, please do. We're going to stay online for just a short, about 5 to 10 minute after dark.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. Bye. Thank you.
We roam around the forest looking for light. We're men in time. We run from the rich and give to the poor, that's right. We may look like cities, but what would you say, or else we'll put out your light. We're men in time. Always on guard, defending the people's rights. La 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 la. And give to the poor, that's right. We may look like candy, but don't get us wrong or else we'll put out your light. We're men in tight, tight. Always on guard, defending the people's rights. When you're in a ditch, just cover the
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the show. We're in a little after show right now. Val, I still got Golden Valkyrie and Sonic Eagle online. I just want to kind of tease next week a little bit. We're going to have Lunar Vale's going to be with us. We'll be talking about animal rescue and about wolves and some other subjects that have to do with animals and how we as real-life superheroes can help out in that area. We've got some other good shows coming up in the weeks to come. After that, we will have Tia Krulos on the 27th. And on March 6th, we'll have Creature from the TV show Who Wants to Be a Superhero. And March 13th, to celebrate to discuss Kitty Genovese Day, we'll have Amazonia. So that's the shows that we have coming up. Beyond that, I don't have anything planned. We are experimenting with this 30-minute show. It kind of got us tight. I'm not sure if I like the 30 minutes, but we'll do with what we have. Val, just a quick wrap-up. Do you have anything else to add to this before we go ahead and close the show out?
Not really. I mean, I kind of got to get going because, I'm almost to my destination, so. Yeah. No, honestly, he